Flashpoint. Well, today I'm doing the Flashpoint Paradox, which is the first movie in the DC animated movie universe. The DC AMU. The DCAMU. That's what us true fans call it.
Do we really have to learn this stuff on TV?
And the storyline is that after stopping multiple villains from the Flash Rogues Gallery,
I knew using these morons would put you off your guard.
Barry Allen discovers that he's lost all his powers.
Huh?
And then he discovers that Batman's a different Batman.
Bruce died, and you lived. You're his father. You're Thomas Wayne.
No one knows who Superman is.
Is that Clark?
This is the most powerful being on the planet?
And Themyscira, Wonder Woman's homeland, has gone to war with Atlantis, and half of Europe has sunk into the ocean because of it. These are just a few of the things that have changed in this new Flashpoint universe.
Not what you were expecting.
And after getting struck by lightning twice to regain his powers, the Flash sets out to undo whatever has caused all this pain and misery. I don't know.
I'm not so sure.
Though the list is very short right now, this was definitely the best thing I've seen so far. I mean, the only real contender I think is Batman Ninja, which was fun, but it never really had, like, anything real to say, I felt. I mean, this movie also, you could say it kind of cheated because it's adapted from a really great series of comic books.
I was warned about you.
But the president wanted the best pilot, so you're stuck with me.
My major complaint is there was a lot of exposition, especially in the first half hour of the film. I guess there's a lot to explain and set up, and there's one scene specifically that I think highlights my problem with that, and that's the scene on the roof.
Hologram party. Ingenious. Saves a fortune on snacks.
Enchantress, Pied Piper, Citizen Cold, Shade, Sandman, the Shazam Kids.
Where, like, all the superheroes show up to just have a nice long discussion for a while, and it's like, well, you're all these heroes, you should do something. And they eventually do, but, like, there's at least, like, 5-10 minutes of them just standing around talking.
War's over, soldier. You just don't know it yet. Everybody lost.
It's a problem with adaptations I see a lot. It feels like it would be a lot more interesting if something more dynamic was going on. And I understand it's an adaptation, but in both books and comic books, you can have long periods of just people talking and explaining things. And it makes more sense in that way, you know? And you can't do it forever, show don't tell, of course. If there's like a page that's just exposition, say, for example, and it can be a lot of exposition, like just read Watchmen, sometimes it happens. But, like, then the next page better be them, like, fighting or something, in my opinion. Just to keep it interesting, but, like, that works in a comic book, or that works in a book as well. If you have a chapter that's nothing but exposition, make sure the next chapter is a bunch of action, just to keep it interesting. Don't let anything get stale. But when you are adapting that same thing to a movie, a visual medium, and you want to keep things visually interesting, maybe combine those two chapters, you know? Combine those two comic book pages so that while the action-y bit is going on, so is that exposition-y bit. You know, there's no reason you can't do it at the same time. Or, like, add something else. Like, maybe instead of them getting there at a meeting to try to convince Batman to join them, maybe they try to do that, but then Batman escapes, and then they have to explain these things while chasing after him. Or something like that. That would have been a lot more visually interesting, and you could still get the exact same information across. Just one of those things that I see people screw up a lot in adaptations, and I just feel it's so easy to fix.
No offense. None of you clowns are smart enough to pull this off.
But that stuff only happened in the first half hour. Everything else about this movie is great.
If I were to help you, what exactly would we need?
Just what's over there and unbelievably bad weather.
Welcome to Gotham.
Like, the voice acting really stood out as being really good. Good voice acting all around.
So, who do I thank?
I don't know what you think just happened, but there ain't no speedster on this team.
The storyline, I felt, if you read the comic, there's a few storylines they definitely just kind of dropped off. That's fine, though. It worked for what it is. And they had enough of every important piece to pay homage to the comic book, but also for people who are just seeing the movie and don't even know about the comic or whatever. It's like enough that you know what's going on.
People have been acting so strangely with this terrible war hanging over their heads.
War? What?
They have this good bit with, like, Thomas Wayne and showing just what happened to his wife. And it just, like, in the comic book, like, there was, like, this whole other storyline going on. But, like, they just showed just enough for this to be like, oh, that's what happened. And then you know the full story of Thomas Wayne. You know, it's subtle, but it's enough.
You'd be amazed the monsters this world can create.
And, like, less can be more if you're used correctly, right? And I think they do it really well with that. That's one other complaint, actually, is that if you've never seen any other DC thing, you might be a little confused for that. Batman's Thomas Wayne instead of Bruce Wayne? Who the hell is Bruce Wayne? The animation was also really good. That's something I want to mention. It really captured a comic book style while also feeling more like dramatic and realistic than most cartoon movies are. I also felt the action in this was very good, and like really any dynamic part, if they were like showcasing like a building or something, you're like just doing an establishing shot of the city or whatever, it did it dynamic and made it interesting, and I felt that way throughout most of the movie. There was never a boring shot.
You're an American. But you're going to tell me a little more about yourself. Who are you?
One more thing. This does start off the DC animated movie universe, and most of the movies, from what I remember, are also just as good as this one was. Though this one's really good. It might be better than all the other ones, actually. They're all worth watching. Anyway, I'm kind of just rambling. I would say it was a really good start to a really good series of movies. Let's go right ahead and lock that into my list. Number 1. And I'll see you next time.